Hey viewers, this is Micah with another PTCGO game. I heard that Empoleon Accelgor was getting some hype, so I decided to show a fairly old game that I had with the deck. Um, I can see it has really good Darkrai matchup, and I guess it must have a pretty good Landorus matchup hitting for weakness there. Um, so I start off with Shelmet, and my opponent is playing a Darkrai deck. Darkrai Hydreigon, and they just give up. That's how good the deck is, guys. Your opponent just scoops. Alright, guys, so here we are with another game that actually got played out. Um, once again, this is a little while back, but still two very relevant decks. Empoleon Accelgor versus Darkrai Hydreigon. So I start out Shelmet. I like to start out with Shelmet because even if you don't get the turn 2 deck and cover, you still have free retreat, so you can switch to a different attacker. Plus, if you start Piplup, then you're not likely to get a very powerful attack command going turn 2. You're not even really guaranteed a Empoleon turn 2. But here we see that I pretty much have a turn 2 Empoleon set up as long as I don't get End, which is fairly likely though. Say about a 50-50 chance. I don't know. Statistics. Yeah, we see that it's a Darkrai Hydreigon deck. The first few turns. They catch out my Piplup to stall me, I guess. And I just use Junk Hunt to get a few items back. So we will be getting the turn 2 Empoleon. But probably not an attack unless we can get an energy with diving draw. So here's the diving draw. Discard Sharon. Basically use Sharon or Charon. Got 2 cards instead of 3. It's no biggie. So our opponent plays Juniper, discarding quite a bit of stuff, but no darkness energy, so we don't have to worry about dark patches at the moment, unless they have an Ultra Ball. So yeah, just another Junk Hunt. So they're getting off to a fairly slow start. That's kind of the nice thing about Hydreigon in the deck is that it does slow Darkrai decks down a bit, even if it does give them that late game power. So get a few diving draws off, just get some draw power, hoping to hit a water energy. Because there's enough Pokemon in play at this point that we can actually attack command for the knockout on Sableye. So, and we get it. So yeah, attack command for 90, a little bit more than enough for a knockout. And we're actually taking the first prize. This is looking to be a good game. Unless they get Dark Patch, then they actually can't even hit us with an attack this turn. Or a Night Spear, pardon me. So they play an N. Great thing about Empoleon is that he pretty much makes your deck N proof, even during the last turns of the game. If you have 2 Empoleon out, then N really doesn't phase you at all. If you have 1 Empoleon out, you're still pretty good. Yeah, he also just helps you really thin out your deck. So when someone does play N, even if you don't have an Empoleon out to draw cards, you've thinned your deck out enough throughout the game that you don't have to worry about drawing useless cards. So we end up getting the double colorless energy, which is really nice, because now we can start working with the paralysis loop. Mew EX can copy anyone's attack, and Accelgor has deck and cover, which paralyzes and then shuffles your Pokemon into the deck. So Darkrai decks typically don't play Switch because they all have free retreat thanks to Darkrai's ability. So it's really nice you can just keep them in this paralysis loop, so you can basically take a KO against an EX without them really having anything to do about it. So you can win the prize trade that way. But at the same time, even though they don't run Switch, we will have to worry about the max potions that they'll be running, because Hydreigon allows them to move the energy off of their Pokemon. So we get a couple more diving draws off, and we do get the double colorless Mew EX combo, so we will be able to use deck and cover yet again to keep the loop going. Aside from just having to draw less cards to keep the paralysis loop going, Mew EX is great in this deck because you can actually copy Empoleon's attack to do 10 times the amount of Pokemon in play, and then if they don't KO you next turn, you can use Empoleon's deck and cover to basically fully heal yourself. So you can kind of win prize trades that way as well. And since Darkrai only hits for 90 and Mew EX has 120 HP, that's kind of why this is such an extremely favorable matchup. So he ends up getting his hand size down to 0 before playing the Juniper, or down to 1 if you include the Juniper, so it's actually doing pretty well. Just no way to get out of paralysis without Switch. So he's going to try and disturb my paralysis loop by catching up Empoleon. So now I either need a Switch or double colorless energy so that I can use Accelgor. So we have the rare candy Empoleon in hand, so next turn we should be able to get a third Empoleon out. And at that point we will have enough draw power to keep the paralysis loop going pretty much as long as we want. We should be able to KO basically anything he throws at us. We don't get the Switch, but we do get the double colorless. It hurts to discard those, but really need to keep up the paralysis loop. Once we get to a certain amount of damage, we actually don't need to keep paralyzing them. We can just use attack command for the KO. And aside from Hydreigon, they don't have enough, or any Pokemon that can actually KO Empoleon back. Yeah, Hydreigon and Mewtwo would be the only ones we see in this deck. And Hydreigon isn't the best choice because he discards 2 dark energy with his attack. And Mewtwo isn't amazing because we have Mew to counter that. And there's the Mewtwo. So our opponent ends us into a different hand. I don't want a Juniper because this hand is actually pretty good. So we'll go ahead and use Diving Draw to get rid of the Juniper. Just trying to draw more cards. And we get the Shelmet, which is great because that means that we can actually keep up the paralysis loop again. Even after he's used Max Potion, so He definitely slows us down with Max Potion, but it's pretty hard to stop a KO from happening when you don't have Switch and you're constantly being paralyzed. So, like I said earlier, this deck is starting to see a little bit more play because the water type counters Lander's EX so well, and Empoleon is pretty effective against Darkrai if they don't play that many Switch. If they play one, it can be interesting. But if they don't play any, it's definitely a very favorable matchup. So here we see we have enough damage on him that we can actually just KO him with Empoleon. And go ahead and take 2 prizes. So we're up 3 prizes to 0 with absolutely no damage on our field. So I'd say we're doing pretty well. And we see here again, he doesn't go for any damage, just tries to get some items back with Sableye. So could really use the DC. If we get the DC, then we can use Deck and Cover, or switch to Accelgor, use Deck and Cover, and then actually Sableye will die from, or get KO'd from poison on the way back to our turn, forcing him to send up another Pokemon, basically without getting to attack or anything. So basically get a free KO. But we see we miss the double colorless, and I don't want to play Juniper and discard everything. And playing N could really mess me up. Don't want to get rid of those switches. So here we see the catcher that he got back last turn. I just taking a look through my discard, seeing how many Shelmet are already discarded so far. I play 3, I think, so should be good. So at this point in the game, this is why I almost didn't upload this, is because I make a pretty big misplay right here. I can actually win the game at this point. I know that there's a water energy in my deck, and I can just play Juniper, discard everything, get the water energy, and then catch out Mewtwo and use attack command for 180 and the KO, but I don't realize this at this point for some reason. Mew EX is kind of a complicated card because you can literally copy everyone's attack on the field. So a lot of the time people miss crucial plays, like they're about to get benched out and they don't realize, oh, I can copy my opponent's call for family because they have an Empoleon on the bench. So it's almost like Mew EX gives you too many options sometimes, and it's hard to keep track. So right now we're just keeping them in a paralysis lock, and there's not really much they can do. So yeah, they just move all the energy off, probably going to Max Potion again. Yeah. So at this point, I actually realize it's kind of funny. I don't realize that I can use attack command with the water energy, but as soon as I see Mewtwo, I'm like, oh, I can just X-Ball. So I immediately think, oh, I can KO them with Mewtwo's attack, but I never even thought to KO them with Empoleon's attack, who's my guy. So Empoleon, Accelgor, definitely a pretty strong deck. I don't know, I definitely enjoy playing it, and I hope you guys enjoyed this game. So So I'll see you guys later.